And we are live with A Hat in Time.
Hello, hello.
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 If we want to get introductions done before we begin this high action video game, I am swc19.
I'm Corvame.
I'm Swanus.
And this is At Time. Together we
I thought
are.
we were gonna do each word at a time and like
Oh, not that much.
we practiced this.
Alright, so before we begin, we have two incentives to wrap up right now. If we can get the status of the costume choice.
The costume choice will be Shadow Puppet.
Alright. And then Hat Kid or Bo Kid.
Doing one final refresh. Bo Kid is your winner.
Alright.
Okay.
So we are ready to begin whenever we're good to. I guess if someone wants to do a countdown.
Alright, yeah, you ready on the timing side?
Let me confirm real quick. I imagine yes, but
I hope so.
Maybe you should count us off.
yes, they're ready.
Alright.
Alright. 3, 2, 1. Yes is Bo Kid.
Yes, comma, as Bo Kid.
Disappointed.
Alright, so this is A Hat in Time. For like the third
If you're
time.
not familiar with this game, it's a 2017
Yep.
indie game that kind of harkens back to the like hub world style Mario games. So like Mario 64, Mario Sunshine, Mario Galaxy, games like that. It's a 3D platformer, and we're gonna break it.
Yep.
Yeah, so
So-
this is... Oh, good.
Okay. So the first thing you'll notice is that most of the movement that SWC is going to do is going to be diving. If you dive again, within a 0.1 second window of landing on the ground, you'll do a dive boost, which is the fastest like standard movement in the game. But the fast movement we can do pretty much anywhere.
There are also three other movement texts that are, or three other main movement texts that will be utilized with the sprint hat, which he just crafted with the 2 yarn he picked up. So if I'll just introduce what these are. There's the SDJ, which is the sprint double jump, which gives you a double jump with sprint speed. If you release shift, which is your sprint button, within like a few frames of double jumping, you will get a double jump effect with the sprint speed, which is very useful for gaining distance.
Yeah, because if you jump with the, you notice that Bo Kid's doing these like front flips. That's what happens if you normally jump while running with the sprint hat. And then that was an SDJ right there, where that jump was faster than it would normally be, and it went farther than it would normally be because it was a non-sprinting double jump, but with sprint momentum.
Then there's also the DSJ, or the double sprint jump, and these terms sound very familiar, but a double
Very
sprint
similar.
jump, yeah, or very similar, yes.
Bo Kid does not like this crafting animation. I've noticed that Bo Kid and Dai's in the crafting animations are a little messy. So this one, her face isn't really applied with the dye, but there aren't too many of them.
You can't, you know what?
It's not perfect.
Dyes
It's
are
alright.
hard.
It's alright.
Anyone who's modded this game, dyes are hard.
Let's see.
Yeah, keep explaining the DSJ.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No worries. So when you're at the ledge and you double tap your jump button while sprinting, you can get a double jump with sprint speed that is not like a hold on a second.
Essentially, you can
me
double
up?
jump twice.
Yeah, you can double jump twice. It's very fast. It's used for
Yeah.
It's used quite a lot during the run. Gives you good momentum, good speed going onto platforms, etc.
And it gives you the second most height out of any sort of jump, too,
Yeah.
which is really important.
The jump
So it
that
gives
does
you-
give.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Continue.
Yeah, so it gives you more height than a standard double jump would do. even though a double jump gives you more height than a sprint jump, but a double sprint jump gives you more height than a double jump. This all sounds confusing. It's because it is.
It is.
And the third form of jump is the one that gives you the most height of them all, which is not really utilized much in 90% unless unless SWC has to do any backups. And it's the triple sprint jump, or the TSJ, which works the same as the DSJ in a lot of regards, except that you release your sprint button in between the double jumps with your DSJ. And you get an additional third jump on top of that, and this gives you a lot of height, but again, not utilized very much in regular 90%. There are only a few niche cases where it's used.
Yeah, in most places where you might use a TSJ, a DSJ will work. So this is just a minute and a half-ish long auto scroller. So you have a donation here too. This would be a really good time for that. It's really nice. It's at the beginning of the run, so every time you reset, you get to sit through it.
I'm not seeing any donations, but I can say that we have just opened a new bid war for the Super Monkey Ball 2 file name, with a 6-character limit. So we have that and the 2 Rhythm Game Difficult Song Showcase incentives open.
Sweet.
All right.
Yeah, go donate. Go give money for those. Those sound really cool.
Yeah.
A fun fact about this level is that the characters in this game will like swing an umbrella or a bat to deal damage, and if you just mash, it is slower. You have to like space it like 8 frames apart for some reason, or else it's like noticeably slower to attack.
Yeah, it's like a slow mash, but you can't just mash all out.
It's very strange.
Very strange.
This is the first instance of using the boop emote to do things the game doesn't want us to do. For whatever reason, the boop emote like does really strange and bad things to Bo-Kid's hitbox. And so in that case, SWC booped before entering the cannon, which allows them to land a little bit faster.
Yeah.
This is also going to be the first level where we use lag strats. So a lot of things don't... you're going to see the game hitch a lot. That's not a bitrate or a Twitch thing. That is, in fact, a intended thing that we do.
If I can get this.
There's a lot of things that you can... there you go.
I missed it.
There's a lot of... Oh, no!
Oh, man. There we go.
Marathon hitter. That trick looks easy. It's, like, surprisingly obnoxious.
Yeah, you get the die boost and you lag at, like, the same time, and it keeps the gate open a little bit longer, because normally you're supposed to get a bucket of stuff and put it on the button, but, you don't need to.
And over time, people in the Boop Troop, which is the hat community, have found that pretty much every single mechanic in the game you can exploit some way through lagging. There are a bunch of ways that you could lag the game. We use an external program that was built by a top runner named Does This Username, which essentially just sets the frame rate cap of the game to 2 frames for 0.4 milliseconds or 0.4 seconds. And the community voted to allow that because it just makes the game so much more enjoyable than the absurd other ways you can try to lag the game, like owning a bad computer.
Yeah, I was going to say, it also makes lag consistent between computers,
Yeah.
which is a major factor.
Yeah, so
And
this
then there
is
is
the,
a category of this that doesn't allow lag strats in NMG.
Yeah.
This is not that run. This strat will use lag a lot.
Yeah, so this is Mafia Boss. I'm gonna set up for a quick kill here, and hopefully kill him quickly.
Mafia Boss is one of 2 major instances of RNG in the run, because the way that the bosses in Hat in Time work is that they exist in a sort of like phase for a certain amount of damage, and they will use moves. They have like a list of moves they'll use, and they'll use every move once in a random order and then repeat that cycle. So this bag section could happen anywhere from 2 to 4 times.
Worst RNG, by the way.
Nice. Classic. 2 is better because you cannot damage him during the bags. So this is a Mafia Boss quick kill. Essentially, you lag out of bounds, you boop back into the stage using a boop clip, which is when you boop right as you're about to grab a ledge, and then you sort of clip through it. And then Mafia Boss will try to toss you forward to get you out of the way if you're too close to him. And if you're holding the Brewer Potion and lag when you're inside of his hitbox, it will mess up his collision. He'll fall out of the stage, hit a death volume, and it'll end the fight.
Again, if it sounds confusing, it's because it is.
This is also the second boop scope. I didn't explain that earlier, my bad. If you boop right as it shows the animation for popping up the telescope, you can move faster.
Yeah.
Normally, like, they'll do a little dance, but you can skip the dance. Saves like a couple seconds.
Very useful tech.
Yeah, you might have noticed that I've been booping at the end of every timepiece. Basically what it does is it just cancels whatever animation you're currently in. At the end of the timepiece, it doesn't really save any time or do anything. It just looks funny.
This is one of the first times we sort of use momentum, too, to get a little bit farther in that jump. You'll see that a couple times throughout the run.
Yeah, it'll be
if you do a single jump, you'll carry your momentum, but when you do another jump, you'll lose your momentum. This is also the first lag SDJ, which is that trick that we mentioned earlier, but the difference is that you lag right before you do it, and it makes you go a little bit farther than you normally would. It's also much easier to execute.
Okay.
Oh, this is a skip where we're going to abuse the checkpoint system. There's a checkpoint volume over there, and if we land in it before we void out, then we'll teleport over here.
Yeah, lag SDJs makes SDJing off of Coyote frames a lot easier.
This game has a mechanic that a lot of newer platformers have called Coyote frames, which is you have a short period of time after you... This is another checkpoint abuse, by the way. You have a short period of time after you run off a ledge that you could still get a jump off before the game registers you as falling. You ever call Coyote frames after Wile E. Coyote in the old Roadrunner cartoons and how he'd run off a ledge and then like react and then fall? And we actually take advantage of... Nice. We actually take advantage of the Coyote frames for a couple tricks. That's the whole reason why DSJs work, as far as I know.
Yeah.
There's a bug in the Coyote frame system.
And what's fantastic about Coyote frames and DSJs are that every DSJ has sort of a different timing. So you need to individually learn where all the DSJs are timed. Some are particularly hard because the collision is like deceiving. You'll have a collision that looks like it's ended, but it hasn't, and you'll just do a normal sprint jump because, I mean, you're not at the ledge and it doesn't register as a DSJ with the Coyote frames. Alright,
a lot to explain for this. There are two different routes in the game. There's Murder Route and Toilet Route. One does this level, which is Murder in the Owl Express. The other one does Toilet of Doom. This is the Murder Route. We clip out of bounds on that trash can, then we're going to clip back in onto this wall. You normally do this whole thing with like a murder mystery. It's actually a really cool level that I'm pretty inspired by my favorite Paper Mario 1000-Year Door world. That's not a bad button.
That's better than last time I did this.
It was totally okay. Then you clip back in, you do this button. You're normally supposed to grab all these keys and stuff to get all the way over here and collect all this evidence. We're not going to do that. That's really slow. Instead, we're just going to jump up here, go into the boiler room, do a lag STJ. I misspoke. So grab this key.
A lot of people do DSJs there.
DSJ is the faster way to get over.
That DSJ is also pretty not too bad compared to some of the other ones. Hit this button, which will allow us to open the door on the other side. Do a lag STJ over to here to skip that platform on the left. Open the door, exit the room. We're done with the level.
Yeah, it's important to note that that button lowers an invisible wall. You might just be saying, oh, you can just jump over there, but there's a big invisible wall that lets you not do it.
There's a bunch of invisible walls in this level that we managed to get around by doing it exactly the way that we do it.
Also, we get Bo-Kid hair cam.
True.
Because this area like never properly loads, so it's just messy.
Optimally done, the Murder Route.
Schrodinger's owl.
It swaps out 2 levels from the more beginner any % route, which is the Toilet Route. It saves 7 seconds, optimally, roughly. And it removes some RNG, which is nice. Because the Toilet boss has some RNG in it that isn't too bad compared to the rest of the RNG in boss fights. But like RNG's bad, we want to reduce it as much as possible, so it's nice. But it is a harder strat to do, for sure.
Yeah. Optimally, I believe Toilet is like 7 seconds slower.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah, that's with like that's with like perfect RNG and perfect execution.
Yeah. So
overall, it's more like 12 to 20 seconds depending on your level, so it's pretty good.
This level's fun because the gravity's lower, and so if you get used to dive boost timings, you have to like, I don't know, I hate this level.
Relearn it. Yeah, because we're on the moon. So of course.
Essentially, you run around, you have to raise this fan club meter, and when you get to a certain level, you get a max diva, and it ends the level when you get the timepiece. SWC is going for a trick called Sewer Potion, named after Sewer, who
That should
invented
work.
it, where you essentially you try to throw a potion, hit this dog, because we need that to hit the to get to the max diva. If you manage to hit max, if you manage to get enough of the points in a certain amount of time, essentially, you can skip about 7 seconds of animation as it counts up again. We call it, like, I don't know, early max diva, quick max diva. I
Yeah.
think we just call it max
Instant
diva.
max.
Yeah, and that saves a lot of time at the end of the level. You don't need to hit the sewer potion there. You could just jump up if you're quick, but the sewer potion guarantees it, and it saves 2 seconds of having to jump up. So now we're gonna go back to murder. If you've played Super Mario Sunshine, you might be familiar that a lot of levels had secret extra levels in them where they took away FLUDD and they were obnoxious. You don't lose your hat from them, but there are secret rifts in the levels that you can go back and do. We're gonna do the murder rift, which is also the first level where we're going to abuse the ice hat.
Oh boy.
This level sucks. It's a huge run killer level.
So basically here you should be getting a couple buttons to make this platform turn. Don't need to. You can just do a lag SGJ or a regular SGJ. But again, lag makes it a lot easier. And
Yeah.
again, there's 4 buttons that we should be hitting here to open up the
This
path to the end of the level, and we're just gonna not do that.
This is an ice hat slingshot, where if you use the ice hat on a slope and then release it with the right timing, you'll just build up a ton of momentum and you'll just go shooting off. As far as I know, it kind of works similarly to that one ability in Breath of the Wild, where you can, like, charge up something with momentum, but with lag.
Yeah, lag kind of just like... It's an intended mechanic that you can slide with the ice hat on
Yeah.
like sloped surfaces, but the lag kind of just gives you extra momentum, and you just go
Exactly.
shooting off. It'll be abused a lot more later.
This next level is Gallery. It's pretty much just a movement level.
It's another time
it's another
rift.
time rift.
Yeah. All the time rifts are pretty movement intensive, except for a couple that are pretty simple. This is one of the harder ones.
Yeah, these 2 first time rifts are some of the hardest in the game.
Yeah.
Or in the 100% route at least. So
By doing a DSJ, you can skip having to wait around. You can also just do a checkpoint abuse there by doing a regular double jump up there, but the DSJ is slightly faster unless you hit an earlier cycle here. And then from there, you just DSJ to the end of the level.
yeah, this is basically DSJ the rift.
Yeah.
What's nice about time rifts too is that Spanos mentioned earlier that DSJs are dependent on your distance away from the edge of the ledge, because the way that they work is they've used the coyote frame system. So essentially you have to be a certain distance when you do your first input. And it'll give you back your jump if you're within a certain frame window of running over the edge. And that can be really annoying with some ledges that aren't where the actual visible the actual visible geometry is not the same as the hitbox, but in rifts everything's square. So
Everything is squares.
this trick is called bag skip or boop skip. We are going to it's called bag skip.
It is called backstep.
We are going to boop out of the bag when we're normally you have to wait like a weirdly long time.
It's like 30
and then
plus
Snatcher
seconds.
will come and you have to sign this whole contract and watch this cutscene. It's really slow and it slows down stuff later. Instead, what you can do is boop out of the bag and then run forward to here, trigger this cutscene. That means now the cutscenes are overlapping and it won't play the first cutscene if the second cutscene is still active when the first cutscene would normally trigger. So that lets us skip that. And we have to watch that second cutscene anyways, and also it's just much faster and lets us move when we would normally just be stuck waiting in the bag. Now, you notice that SWC didn't dive boost or anything there when they were stuck in this invisible state. That's because if you dive boost, double jump, some other stuff, you will be you'll get stuck.
It's pretty much anything except running and jumping.
Yeah.
You're also going to see SWC picking up this cherry here, and that they've intentionally been taking damage in the fire. That is because he's setting up a trick called Cherry Death, which you'll see here in a quick second. But essentially what he's going to try to do is to die, and at the same time as he's dying, pick up the timepiece that spawns at the end of the level. This allows him to respawn at the start of this level, see contractual obligations, while still gaining the timepiece. This allows him to not have to enter the telescope, and skips quite a few animations, and it's just overall faster. So as you can see, he did get it.
Yeah.
So
Saving
now
a
he'll
bit of time.
respawn at the start of CO.
Yeah, and missing
the
that
well-
loses a whole minute, so it's good. Good to
Yeah.
get it.
Subcon well, which is this level, you enter it from the same place. So you have to burn these paintings to unlock the next place. This is going to be a lag warp, which the game has a system where if it notices that you are stuck, then it will. That's another ice hat slingshot. Nicely
Is
done.
that my bunk? Yeah, that bunk.
If the game notices that you are stuck for
Let's do it again.
for a long period of time, it will warp you back to the last safe location that it saved. And so by lagging the game, we can essentially abuse that timer, and it will send you back. And in this case, all of that purple goop is not considered safe. So it'll work. We grab the painting, mash lag, and it jumps us back to the platform, which is a safe spot. This is called well dive. You jump and you dive, and then you go into well. I don't know why it works.
That tree is in like a perfect spot that you can just you can dive up it without bonking, and you get enough height, and if your angle's right, you just go right into the well. It takes about 6 seconds.
For some reason, when you enter this room, there's a little cutscene that plays where the gate falls, and then your controls are flipped during it, but you can still move, and it's awful.
Yeah, the control flipping was added like after the game came out for some reason. On earlier versions
why?
of the game, the controls aren't reversed, and it's very disorienting if you're playing on different versions for some reason.
You notice that dive boost went a lot farther. If you dive boost when you're sliding forward, you'll get what's called a momentum dive boost, which can go extremely far in some cases. This strat is like, you're not supposed to do it this way, but there's nothing that we're doing here that is like particularly speedrunny. It's all just kind of doing the level. I
Yeah.
love well.
All of
Well's
this
a
is
great level.
intended movement.
That was swag.
I'm gonna check
that-
super fast,
Yeah,
just
make
in
sure no
case.
saving.
On the very
game is
off
prone-
chance that we crash, I would like
This
the
game is
run.
prone to crashing, especially in longer categories. And there's a setting called no saving that you can turn on that won't save your progress for speedrunning purposes. I don't know what the purpose of it is, honestly. I just
IWs.
I don't know.
oh yeah, that makes sense.
It's for practice. All right, up next is the hardest trick in the game.
Hardest trick of the game.
So that's
The
fun.
soft part of the fruit.
I sometimes called the flesh.
So, this is Manor Hover. It's really hard to explain, but like, if you ever played like Source games and you know about like prop flying, it's basically that at its core. What I'm gonna do is
Yeah.
pick up a cherry, put it next to another cherry, line myself up so I pick up the bottom cherry, and then fly. And there are a lot of invisible walls to avoid here, and it's a hard trick. So if I miss it, that's okay.
It's really precise because there's all these giant invisible walls. If you hit any of them, you just fall.
That's a little slow, but that should work.
Nice.
So you'll see this convenient hole in the ceiling of this ice ball here placed around the manor. And that is, for some reason, it's been placed there. And
Yeah, there's no
makes-
real reason, and it is there is
It makes
no
it pretty
geometry
cool.
in most of it. Like that little.
Normally this whole platforming section that is like not too like it's pretty easy, but it's slower by like 30-45 seconds. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
you lose a lot of
Very-
time if you miss hover, but
It's kind of run ending depending on your time.
yeah.
Now normally this whole level is like a horror level where you're trying to like hide in certain places and to avoid Queen Vanessa and like trigger all these different events that eventually will get you into this room. There's actually just a hidden room, like a hidden path that you can just crawl through and jump directly to the end of the level, which is really nice for us because that level is extremely slow otherwise.
It is very slow.
Next level
Sweet.
is another rift. This is another one of the really fun rifts.
Yeah, and this is another rift where you can get a faster cycle if you play it correctly
Yeah, I
by
love
using
the-
DHAs and
The
dive
beginner
boost.
guide for this level is pretty much just the person's just doing this, like what SOC is about to do, and just says, if you're new, you're going to do it slower and you might have to wait.
Yep,
Pretty much.
that's a lot of the beginner guides for some of the rifts, at least.
There's a little bit of optimization you can do here around like buffering a dive boost when you enter so that you get the, like, don't bonk on things. and some DSJs that save time. But for the most part, you just like as long as you've seen somebody do it, that's what you do. I can't.
So-
I thought you were gonna miss that.
Yeah, hook shots
That
are
was real
very,
low.
very generous on when you can grab them, and if you have input assist on, which is like a little setting in the controls, you can just technically buffer the hookshot grab from pretty much anywhere. So like you can
Really?
you can hold the hookshot grab. So like right now I'm holding it, and then I get it.
Oh
So
my god, what have
yeah.
I been doing my whole life?
if
I
you
tried
don't
to
have
time
it,
it
you need to
over
actually
first,
time
though.
it, which is bad. So always have input assist
Yeah,
on.
I try to time it.
Yeah, don't.
And I have input assist on.
Well, you don't need to.
Yeah,
Oh my
definitely
god.
don't need to. It is free.
love
free
learning.
to hold.
He almost missed the cycle there, but he just recovered.
Yeah,
This
there
last
was
level is
one
the
little trick
only
I missed.
level that every controller player on the world does on keyboard.
The superior
Because-
setup.
No, shot, calm down.
The game turns into a third-person shooter. It's great. And we
Yeah,
shoot
you
mail
gotta
at minions.
send all these letters. This level would be. Oh, there's a nice thing here. There's actually a second guy back there, and
Did
if
not
you
get
shoot
it.
it the exact, if you stand in the right place, shoot at the right angle, it'll hit 2 people with 1 mail, which is really nice.
There is also a ton of input assist, so you don't even need
Yeah.
to like be close to the minion, and it'll shoot right at it. It's very nice.
And SWC is going to try to land in the timepiece as it spawns, which will open up the contract menu. Nice. To show that the contract's been done, and you can exit out without watching the full timepiece animation, which saves like 7 seconds.
Doing this
Yeah.
level also unequips your hookshot badge, which you still
Yeah.
have to quickly re-equip there before leaving the level, because the scooter, which is I'm riding, is a badge in itself. So and it doesn't re-equip the badge you had on previously, which is pretty annoying if you forget about it.
Yeah.
So now we're on Mafia 2, which is the worst part of the game.
It could be the best. It could be the worst.
Yeah,
Depends
Mafia 2
on
is
how
really
it's
hard.
feeling today, and game's feeling all right today. We'll see.
This level has a lot of different strats. You have to grab 4 tickets to open this golden vault. At the start, there's a bunch of different things you can do here. So the first one, the goal is to grab this ticket and then lag warp back. Even though SWC landed on the ground, you have a one frame buffer where the game won't register you as having landed on the ground yet. But with input assist, that's actually a lot more generous. Oh,
Yeah, you can buffer
normally you
the.
land on that balloon and then bounce onto it and get the next ticket, but there's a harder version of the strat where you essentially try to not set your save spot the entire time here using a trick called buffered dive boosts, which are impossible on controller and super easy on keyboard.
They're frame perfect on a controller, and
Yeah.
on keyboard they're very, very free. You have a huge window of opportunity, and in fact you can do it on controller if you're on Linux for some reason.
Yeah, it works on Linux. And then we wouldn't have to like run over here and launch up, and so that's faster, but it's difficult.
Yeah. And also for the one frame jumps, you have a lot of time to buffer them. Not a lot of time, but it's more than one frame.
8 frames, I think.
Yeah, something around there.
It's
Yeah,
a
it's
pretty
generous.
window. The hard part
You
is
say 1
chaining
frame
them.
because
Yeah.
if you have input assist on, it is truly a 1 frame trick, but input assist is nice. Use input assist.
True.
Next up is another rift, the sewers. There is a fast. Are you going for the fast cycle?
Yeah,
All right.
kind of.
There's another trick where essentially, if you don't do it for a cycle, you just do it the same way but slightly slower. But there is a way to get up slightly fast. Normally, you have to like wait for that second one down like beneath here to get up, and then you can climb it all the way up, and you have to wait for the things to go in and out like 3 times. But if you're really quick and start moving before the you can actually technically start moving when the timer starts, not when, well, while the thing's loading in. Like the Fade to Black is happening. If you start, you're running the level then, and do your movements right, you can get that first cycle.
Yeah.
He didn't get an absolute fastest cycle. He could have done a DSJ there when he was waiting for the block to rotate and gotten onto it. But the DSJ there is very awkward due to the camera
Yeah.
angle. You
I
have
miss it
when you
often
jump.
enough tonight.
And there's no
Go for it.
checkpoints in that level, so if you miss it, you have to do the whole thing over again.
There is a
There's no
checkpoint.
checkpoints to be grabbed.
Right, it's like all the way down that slope. So this is the
Heating
hardest
up.
level in the game.
It's the hardest level of the game.
Yay.
But also the coolest when done properly.
We have
Nah,
to
it's actually
hit
the
these
hottest
4
one, but-
faucets. Ha ha ha.
Thank you. Alright, well,
So we're gonna try to do a bunch of lag shenanigans and a bunch of stuck warping, which is the strategy I mentioned before. Oh, you're doing task route.
Yeah.
I didn't know you did task route. There's like 3 different main routes. There's a beginner route, there's the lag shot route, and then there's the task route, which is only called that because originally the task did it, and it's like
It's really not that hard compared to
not like
like.
a task only thing.
Yeah.
So this level optimally done is just a lot of ice hat slingshots and a lot of taking advantage of the fact that nothing we land on is going to set save spots to get back to here. Oh, nice.
Oh, that's a clean heating up.
That was pretty good.
That was good. That was very good.
Yeah.
So now you just
That was very
you
good.
just stuck warp back to the start and
Nice.
and head back to there.
That dive boost is impossible.
The more beginner strat will actually die to get back to the start. But you don't do that in the faster strat.
Okay, I can't boop into cannons today. It's alright.
Hi.
Hi.
Imagine booping cannons.
That's a good heating up.
That was pretty good.
Pretty solid.
Now we boop out of bounds.
Next up is Rift Bazaar, the most uninteresting rift.
It really is.
These rifts are the rifts are not supposed to be done in the order we've done them in this run so far. So the Rift Bazaar is supposed to be one of the earlier rifts since it's in the first world. So you'll see the actual difficulty of the rift be pretty downscaled compared to some of the ones we did earlier, like Gallery and Murder on the Owl Express Rift.
Well, even so, Bazaar doesn't unlock until you finish heating up, but because it's in Mafia Town, it's just easy
Yeah.
overall.
Yeah, and you need 100 pawns to open heating up. So
Yeah.
like 10.
Yeah,
Gotta
but
earn it.
it's still like easy because it's in Mafia 1.
Right.
Yeah, the only real things that we do here that are like anywhere different from what a casual might do is some DSJs to get onto some things slightly faster, and then that slide there.
And if you get a really good cycle, you can do a super cool slide here at the end.
Yeah.
But
You can get
Not
the
gonna-
spicy timepiece. This next level is called Cheating the Race, or we call it CTR. It is the hardest level for beginners because it is timed. You have to beat this mafia guy who's riding on a rocket to the end, and the way you're intended to do it is by using a hat called the Time Stop hat, which costs 32 yarn to make, so it's really expensive to make, and it lets you stop time for a certain amount of time, and then you have like more than enough time to get to the end. But it's actually possible to do it just by moving really well.
a lot of beginners do another level called Mafia of Cooks instead because this is so hard, and
Yeah,
most people struggle a lot with this level, and you'll see
it's
why
just a
probably.
pure movement level, and it's so frustrating to miss.
It's really bad to miss in the middle of a run. Not as bad as Cherry Death, but it's almost.
And it just takes advantage of a lot of momentum dive boosts here.
Didn't miss it though.
Yeah, I mean,
And so that is the end of Mafia 2, kind of.
yeah, so that's the end of
There's
Mafia
another-
Town.
Yes, there is a level, another rift called Lab, which we'll do now. It's like considered part of the Mafia 2 IOW because we don't know where to put it because it's not really in Yakuza Metro, but it's also not really in Mafia 2. Lab has a trick called Turnip.
Because you
where
turn and you go
zip,
up.
which takes advantage of the game's mechanic to get you unstuck from a piece of geometry. So by turning at the right time, you will get your hitbox stuck in the wall, and then the game will be like, "Oh, you shouldn't be here. We're just gonna zip you to the top and get the level."
That's, yeah.
You can actually buffer that with the hat wheel, which is like the hat selection mechanic that isn't just scrolling through the hats like SWC is doing, and which makes it a lot easier. But
Yeah, but who has buttons for that?
Yeah, I don't have that on my controller. That's weird. Never heard of
Yeah.
that before.
I mean, who would have buttons, right?
So now we're on the last world before the final level, which is Yakuza Metro. This is a DLC level that has been incorporated into any percent because it's just so quick.
It
You get
is
5
very
pieces
fast.
extremely fast.
We'll be doing a lot of lag strats here, but even without lag strats, it's extremely fast.
Yeah. So the first is the entry. SCP's gonna try to do a trick called Boop Metro, which by
Don't worry about
by
it.
boot clipping onto that little platform, you can get under here and continue to ride the train if you're quick.
I might miss.
And then
Ooh,
you
that
just
was
run over to
close.
the end and you jump into this death volume here, and that will take you to the end where you just ride this train and you skip the whole level.
Saves quite a good chunk of time
Yeah,
doing
it's
the
like 20
level
seconds.
intended. I think it's a little less.
It's
right?
like 5 seconds, honestly.
And you kill that cat for some reason. I don't know why.
It's got a timepiece.
How does it,
Obviously.
like, what if it just found it and didn't know what it was?
Well, then the hat kid's bad.
Unlucky.
Next clip is called
Unlucky for
Dumpster
the
Dive,
cat.
and we're gonna use this dumpster to clip out of bounds, and it's hard.
No, it's
but
not.
SFC got it first try. It is hard.
It's not as
It is very hard. It's really inconsistent.
You tried to like SJ and missed there, but
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
back up.
If you go higher, it's slightly faster, but if you go in between there, it's like fine. It's not that much slower. Then you clip back in, and hey, there's a timepiece here.
Wow.
24-second IL.
Yeah, it's a pretty quick level.
So that will give us a entry point to the level that is really useful for doing some future levels. So we're going to back to hub here and enter. Again, that's faster than getting to where we want to start this level than doing it from the hub, or the free roam start.
We'll be picking up 2 timepieces from this checkpoint, the
Yes.
yellow overpass manual, which is what we just picked up.
This is another place where people's routes can vary right at, like this level everyone does, but after that there are 2 different timepieces you can do. One that involves a lag clip, and one that involves just kind of doing this level again with some extra stuff at the end. The lag clip one is faster, but it requires a tricky lag clip, so
It is easier than the dumpster dive we did earlier,
yes.
generally.
Actually, I think it's harder.
Really?
I'm way worse at it, yeah. But I've practiced dumpster dive way more, I feel.
Yeah.
It's
Cool,
generally
so it's more
easier.
deceiving for on the bush.
Yeah,
I've
you also
better
have more
visual
height
cues for dumpster.
on the ledge to do it, which helps. Like for dumpster dive, you need to kind of hit the lag while you're falling.
Yeah.
Like more so than normal lag clips. It's kind of hard to explain, but we'll see this
This is
here.
gonna start the same way, and if you're doing Pink Paw, which is the other level, you would just do that whole part again, and then do a checkpoint abuse sort of. But instead, we're just gonna clip into that bush. We're gonna dive boost to the end here. We're gonna run across that big, beautiful cube.
Nice slingshot.
And yeah. And then clip back in. Hey, that's another level.
Yep.
The last level here is not. We're not going to go back to hub because it's just the place that it starts here is actually really convenient for this last one. You generally want to go if you can avoid going back to hub. It's nice because you don't have to watch the animation where the little book for the finale fills up. So you could do this normally, and it's like not that much slower, or you can bounce up to here, do a lag STJ over to this platform, and then finish the level like that. There's also an intermediate strat where you can do a death, like a checkpoint abuse sort of thing.
That lag is pretty tricky, and it's very easy to bonk on the roof.
I hate that lag STJ.
Yep, and that's all of
So now we're on the
Metro.
last level, finale. Finale is a 2-part level split between the gauntlet, which is really fun, and the mustache girl fight, which is random and bad.
So first we take control of Mustache Girl, the only time, and the first time I see Mustache Girl since Down with the Mafia, like 30 minutes ago.
Yeah, normally she shows up a little bit, but we skip all that, and even then she doesn't show up that much.
Yeah, she was supposed to play a larger role in the game story, but doesn't.
Yeah. So there's actually like a little entry puzzle to get in to the finale, which would you could skip a little bit of it by doing that sort of dive and that zip there, or there's a clock on the left you can do a TSJ off of to skip that whole puzzle, which is slightly faster.
Yeah, there's a little hole in the gate that I get rid of too that you can jump through, but it's really tricky, you know.
One of the few TSJs that are actually in the normal 90% right, but
That mini doesn't have collision.
it's a really tricky TSJ.
The finale is another very movement heavy segment. It's just this big, or finale gauntlet is just this big movement gauntlet, and it's very cool. It's a very fun level. The beginning is pretty straightforward. We're gonna take advantage of checkpoint volume again to get warped up onto the top part of this instead of taking the spring. It's slightly faster. And then after, oh, you do that.
Yeah, take 2.
You do that. Then we're gonna do a lag shot off of this crystal because that bit over there is slightly.
That's
Oh.
not good.
That bit over there is slightly slanted.
It gave me the wrong hook shot.
Ideally, you don't do that, but
True.
sometimes
Dying is bad.
because gauntlet is hard.
This is one of the harder segments of the game for sure, and funny enough, it's also the last segment of the
Yep.
game, or the last world, which is just fantastic. Love to see
Pretty,
it.
like pretty much everyone who's like new to intermediate, if you like look at their run, then
There we go.
they ask like, hey, what can I do to improve? Like, what can I save the most time on? It's probably finale, just like myself included.
Yeah, I was
Now
gonna
it's
say
hard.
for a lot of better runners, there's usually quite a lot of time to save, and saving finale gauntlet, and I guess on the final fight too. But
Yeah, finale as a whole is just, it's long. There's
That's
a lot
my
of
favorite trick in the game, which is that dive boost onto that pillar. I love it. I don't know why.
because
I
like
don't even
you,
do
you
it.
can't even tell the pillar's there until you're on it.
If you
And it's
get
like
if you are quick, you can get through that wall with one single use of the Dweller Hat, which is what makes those walls pass throughable. You're normally supposed to kill all these owls, and then it like drops that wall. Instead, we just hop over the fence. This part over here, there's a trick you could do with a momentum dive boost, but SWC plays on controller, so I'm not gonna do that.
you can just like
And this
dive
last
boost into
part-
get more momentum.
There is, if you land on this hammer at the end, you can dive forward, but you're not gonna do that because you need to take damage. Right?
No, I'll make
Nice
it.
man. Good hammer cycle.
Oh yeah, you're at 2 health. So there is this mustache girl fight is split into 2 phases. There is the like throne room phase, and then there's the bitrate zone phase. And there's a period between them that you just have to kind of wait there as she goes and throws all these timepieces down. But if you do a trick where you kill her at the same time she kills you, essentially, the game will register that you killed her, start the next segment, and skip that whole phase, and it saves like 20 seconds. It's actually very large.
It's also RNG
But
dependent.
it's RNG, yeah. Because you can
Yeah.
only easily consistently do it on 2 of the different of the 4 attacks she'll use. There's a way to do it on the 3rd one of her attacks that like is pretty new, and I don't understand it.
No one does it, but it's extremely inconsistent.
Yeah.
It's on the timepieces attack.
All right,
Yeah.
RNG time, 1 to 4.
This is the largest part of RNG in the game, which is Snatcher is going to make a contract with the goat, and they're going to start chucking out cherries, which break this shield. Because of the way that the bosses work in this game, which I explained before, they'll use their attacks in a random cycle, and every cycle, Mustache Girl will make her shield twice. But if she already has the shield up, she won't make it again. So if you get the shield 2 times in a row, you don't have to break it twice, and it saves time because you don't have to wait for another cherry to get thrown. And so the shield can be made 1 to 4 times, assuming you're getting every possible hit off. 1 is extremely rare; it's like 2%. 2 is like 21%, and 3 is like 60%.
Yeah.
This is not great RNG at all.
I mean,
That's 3
technically
cherries.
it's average. But yeah, I always get 3 cherries in runs
Yeah.
like this, so definitely not surprised by that.
Yeah.
I've never seen 1 cherry in a run.
I've never
I ran
gotten
1
one
cherry
cherry.
once on a 10 times finale run, and I choked it.
Alright, and here is the final phase of the final fight in which we cannot die because the enemies and NPCs in the games are like, hey, when we die, Hat Kid gets health, so let's all die and save Hat Kid. And it's really weird,
Yeah.
but
Makes a lot of
it works out.
I mean, you control time, so it's not that. I feel like
Yeah, everyone's saved in the end. It's not a big deal. I don't know about like the Mafia guys, but it's alright. Some of them are around still.
So this fight, like, it's not quite over yet because you still have to get, what is it, 7 or 8 hits on her?
8. Yeah.
8 hits, and every time you take damage, you can't, like, watch the little animation as you can't move and stuff, and that is slow. You'll also notice that SWC is trying to throw a brewer while doing the homing attack. It's called a brewer double, and it lets you get 2 hits down in one attack phase, which is really nice.
Yeah.
And
time will be
yeah.
when SWC grabs this giant ball of time.
The big ball. And time. So that is
Alright.
a hat in time. Any percent. There's also other categories like all timepieces where you get all timepieces.
Yeah, it's a cool category.
It's very
All
interesting.
56 of them.
This game has a pretty active community, so if you have any interest in it, definitely check out the Boop Troop. It's one of the nicest speedrunning communities that I've ever been a part of. Everyone there is super great. Shout outs to everyone there.
Absolutely. BoKid still doesn't have the correct shadow puppet face, but that's okay.
Look, it happens. Are you saving?
Alright. Everyone
Yes,
in chat,
no,
what do we do? Do we save?
Do we save?
Do we save or
Mustache Girl
not save
no?
Mustache Girl?
This decision is hugely important
Yeah.
in the canon. No.
No.
Oh well, the one person. All right, well, chat's split, so I just said no.
I'm
After
okay with that.
DQ's run, no one. She never deserves one again.
Mm-hmm.
One DQ run.
After she kills your run, it's not fun. But yeah, that's that. There's not too much else. There's just a long cutscene at the end of this.
Yeah.
So, thank y'all for enjoying, and that's that.
Hey, thank you, not only for the run, but also for the excellent commentary. All three of
Thanks
you.
for having us.
Thanks so
Thanks,
much.
Ryan.